Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Today we're doing a special episode. It's called the Monday Morning Commentary. We're going to review an old match from somebody's past, and that person today is Jim Kuby, otherwise known as Tommy Thunder. He wrestled for me for a couple years. And why don't you tell us about the match we're going to watch today?
So today we're going to watch one of the matches I was fortunate enough to wrestle Steve Corino. I want to say this is our third match. This is the first time wrestling him where I came out as the face. So throughout my whole career, I was predominantly either in the tag division or a heel of some sort. So I picked, when Ryan gave me the episodes to pick from, I picked this one because there are some mistakes that I saw right away looking at it today. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to just review it, see where, things could have been a little bit better, and go from there.
All right, so we are watching the match right now. As if you see us looking down, we are actually watching the match as this goes on. So what was it like for you kind of having to step in the ring with a guy that we watched on TV frequently in Steve Corino?
So the first match with Steve Corino was at Play Ball, or I don't know what it's called now, in Morganville, and that was a different crowd. And it was extremely nerve-wracking. It was the first time, it was like the kind of turn pro moment, if you will, where I got to wrestle someone we paid to be there specifically for it. So I was extremely nervous. Before that, it was like, the big fish in the little pond of B4W. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of expanded it, and now it's like not so big anymore because now we have this guy who wrestles all over the world. Now, this match particularly, we're on pretty much my home turf. So this is the Knights of Columbus in Jackson, New Jersey, where my father was a member, I was a bartender, the whole thing. So the crowd, I believe this is the paid show as well.
Yeah, so this is what's called a sold show in wrestling terms, and that's basically where the venue or a company will give you the money for the show, and you basically tell them what your budget is, they send you the money, and then they keep all the ticket sales or the food, merchandise, whatever deal you work out with them. But for this one, we didn't really care about tickets or anything like that. We just wanted a free show, and this was it.
Yeah. So Steve comes out first, and he does a great job of really selling himself as a heel. Just the slow walk, the sneers, the interaction with the crowd, pointing, yelling, threatening them. So this is where I was familiar. This is where I was comfortable. This is my comfort zone, being the heel, getting those reactions out of people. So stepping out of it and being the babyface, Steve did a great job of priming the crowd basically for that. So they hate him because he walked out first and he was a jerk. It didn't matter who was going to walk out next. As long as they weren't that guy, the crowd would be behind them, or should have been behind them.
And so that's one of the things that I learned later on is, my mentality was the champion always comes out last. But when you're doing these shows, that doesn't really matter. Typically, you want the heel out first to antagonize the crowd. So I try to do that whenever possible. That's not always possible, but whenever you can do it, I like to do that. And you can see a huge baby face here.
Yeah, I had that huge high energy. So this is where things for me, I already start picking them apart. So I had this huge high energy entrance right off the bat. People are cheering and everything like that. I got the crowd clapping and doing the whole baby face thing. And then once I get in the ring and everything starts, I immediately lose that energy because instead of
You winded.
I was gassed already getting in the ring. I get in the ring and I lean back on my heel ways where it's slow everything down, take control of the match, throw the baby face around, get the ref, start getting in your cheap shots. In hindsight, I probably should have ran in, done a little clapping. By the time I got in the ring, it should have almost been a challenge to Corino, where he would have then either slid out of the ring or hid behind the referee, or something like that, where it's showing I'm the dominant guy now. So now this is his setup to play dirty for the rest of the match. This is the way I think about it now.
And the one thing we did for this show specifically was we had waited all night to let everybody know, this is the guy from Jackson. So we kind of had hyped it up throughout the night, featuring Jackson's own Tommy Thunder. Mm-hmm. Even though 90% of our roster was actually from Jackson, New Jersey. Yeah. It's pro wrestling. They were from other parts of New Jersey or somewhere else. So we specifically saved that. for this moment. And I think there's actually, is there somebody from the Knights of Columbus who's involved in this match, or is that a different one?
Yeah, he comes in. That was a whole weird situation. We have time now because the microphone's not working.
And I'm not in the back, so
Yeah,
if the
and-
microphone's not working and there's technical problems.
Just someone staring at a screen, sweating right now. And then my good friend Charlie Bricato was the commentator for this. Charlie is great at improv and all that fun stuff. But he took his liberties with it. When something doesn't work, he made the best of it, I guess. But like I said, in hindsight, it should have been the slide in, challenge him right away or go after him right away. I turn around, he gets the better of me, ring the bell, and go from there. So he's at the advantage already, the way I see it. But I thought this was still a good setup. It told people who was who, and gave them that chance to kind of rally behind me.
And so this show, just for reference, this show is from 2008. So this was the summer of 2008. I don't know the exact date. So we're talking about 13 years ago at this point. And you probably at that time, how old would you have been at that time?
24.
24. And this was right before you were planning to go into...
basic training.
Yeah, so this was your last show for about a half a year. So it was a cool way to do a send-off. There actually is a story because there was, and we'll get to it near the end, but Corino had made the pitch for Tommy Thunder to win the title, and then we do like a tournament or whatever, and I thought that was... I hate devaluing the title.
Weakens the title.
Yeah, so I didn't want to do it. But there's a story to that near the end that they kind of messed with me about. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
It's like an asterisk next to my name now.
This was one of the last shows we did as B4W. A couple months later, we would turn into World 1, which was basically an amalgamation of different promotions. It was B4W, 3K Wrestling, NWA 3000, stuff like that. All that kind of combined. Basically a bunch of promotions that Corino didn't want to do, and a bunch of promotions I didn't want to do, and we just created World 1 Wrestling out of it. So.
He was running his promotion at the time, too, in Pennsylvania. We would kind of spotlight over, not spotlight, should not say spotlight, guested over there or whatever to get our experience in. And, and then I guess after a while, he was just like, we could just let Ryan do it.
So quick story about that. There was a show that you couldn't make, or was it Joe D couldn't make? One of the two, either him or Joe D couldn't make the show. I think it was you, actually.
Okay.
Couldn't make the show, and Corino really wanted to put the belts on Tommy Thunder and this guy Joe D. And so I filled in for him because I had the same kind of gear. And he's like, well, we're going to put the belts on you still. This way, you guys can defend it. And then, you guys will lose it. And then Tommy Thunder can win. I'm like, no. So anyway, he puts the belts on me. And I immediately retired. So that he would have been champion.
Yeah. So even here, like I said, it's my psychology looking back on it is if I was going to play this kind of, game with him, shouldn't have had that. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about the entrance compared to how I'm in the ring right now. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
So I mean, what I'm seeing is he's doing the listen to my reaction. I think what he was looking for is you to get on the ropes and then get the big reaction.
Okay.
And then then he would have went up again. They would have booed him, and then you would have went up, and then he would have got frustrated, and then started the match from there.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
That's probably what would have happened.
Yeah.
And you can see there, Corino, typical heel that has no hair, claiming that somebody's pulling the hair. Also, just to note, because I know we're in the early stages of the match here, referee is John Finnegan from ECW and everything like that. You can never underestimate how important a good referee is.
Yes.
If a good referee is good, you'll never notice them. If a bad referee is bad, all you'll do is notice them. And for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So he's just playing the games now, and I think the reason we started out this slow is we wanted to do the hand lock or the test of strength.
So did he do the thumb in the bum spot?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe he did.
Oh, okay. That's a good crowd pleaser if you've never experienced that one before.
Mm-hmm. In a ring. Yes.
Yeah, but outside the ring, of course, but in the ring, I guess he didn't do it this time. So we don't have the audio on as we're watching this, so I'm not sure what you're motioning to the crowd. Obviously, flirting with the babes, probably.
Yeah. I think it was. This is when Maria still came to the shows, so I
She
remember
might have been yelling.
When I rewatched, I had to lower the volume because she was like
She was a good fan. So Maria was my ex-girlfriend who used to come to all the shows and would help us out with camera or just being a really loud fan because she genuinely enjoyed the shows.
And me.
So yes. Okay, so there you go. He's stepping on the hands.
Yeah. Little crowd pleaser here. Again, step on the hands, let him back up to the ropes, pursue him, and then let him scuttle out of the ring. You know what I mean? Just how I'm thinking, how I look back on it.
So I noticed you're letting him sell instead of you selling to the crowd. I feel like right after then it should have been a stomp and then a ha to the crowd.
Absolutely.
And then let him sell afterwards because you know he's gonna milk it for all it's worth. And not that Steve was lazy or anything.
No.
I think quite the opposite.
Yeah.
But he always liked to get as much out of a match. I think this match goes like almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, this is a longer one.
So like he put the time in when he didn't have to. You know what I mean? It's not like, first of all, it wasn't our money to begin with.
No, yeah.
And he's a guy who wanted to get in there and work. And now you guys are doing this wrist lock spot here again.
Got to do two. Let him get up. I think I do like the uppercut.
Was that a leg slap uppercut?
I think it was a bicep slap.
Okay, because the big thing right now in wrestling is there's the one congregation of people who despise the leg slaps, and then there's
like
the
leg
others
slap punch.
who are like, it's wrestling, you can do whatever you want. But it's getting to be a bit much where people are literally going,
Oh, okay.
like on a chop, there's never a reason
No.
that you'll need to slap your leg, but people are doing it.
The whole
so
reason for the chop is to
make some sound.
Yeah, that's definitely the only reason for the chop is to make some sound, not establish dominance or hurt.
Not beat the shit out of the trainees.
So a little fun fact. So again, he I think he ran out of the ring, got the thing. A phenomenal heel to watch him work. And if you're paying attention to like these little things, like again, you said the match goes 38 minutes. I think was the final. With all the little fun stuff at the end. But just keeping that pace and not gassing yourself out right away is extremely important for this kind of match. I believe this is the main event for the show.
Yep.
And you want to have that time. You want to take that time and put the audience on that roller coaster of up and downs.
Now, I mean, you're coming from our first ever professional live show. You took on Steve Corino in the main event. So you're coming from that match, and then less than a year later, you're walking into this match. Again, it's a main event, different location. Who's that adorable creature right there? My cameraman was my girlfriend at the time, so she was focused on me, obviously. So what was your mindset comparative to your first go-around with Steve? What was it like being in there a couple months later?
Definitely more relaxed and just like kind of trusting him and his flow to the match. Like before Corino, it was when I would go into a match, it was like, all right, I'm walking out, I'm getting into the ring, I will walk around the ring for 5 seconds, and then we're gonna lock up. You know what? And then after the lockup, we're gonna do a little bit of chaining, which was a little more freeform, but more of the match was always planned out. And then Steve comes in, and the first time we wrestled, we didn't plan a lot out because he was a pro and he was doing his own thing. So he's like, yeah, no, we won't do that. And he would walk around, you go to the batting cage, swing a few, hit a few balls, and I'm in the corner sweating and like, contemplating my existence at this point. And then like with this one, he's like, I learned to trust the flow that he had, and just again, trust myself a little bit more and just to go with it, which I could see is maybe why some of the stuff is a little bit slower. You know what I mean? Like, where the whole match, every step and move is planned out. You hit the spot, you get up, you react, you go back to the next one. Where this one's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Oh, I'm sorry, can I curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Okay, I don't know what the hell to do sometimes. So it's like that. It was definitely, this one was more of a learning curve than the first one, I think. Because again, first one was comfort zone of being a heel my whole life and just going into it as a heel. Like, I could do this. I could piss off the crowd. I can, grab the ref and or whatever. But this one, it's like I can't do any of that. So how am I going to fill 38 minutes being the good guy?
And so the funny thing is, back then, I wouldn't write time limits on the.
Right.
It was just you went out and you wrestled, and when you were done, you were done. Mm-hmm. So this was all Steve that went in there with the mindset of let's go out there and let's work.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if ahead of time if you knew you had 30 minutes to fill. I think it was just one of those, we're going to go out, we're going to do this, we might do that, and let's see what happens. And obviously a good portion of that is relying on feedback from the fans. If the fans are not into it,
you go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go home or you jump off the top ropes and you break a leg or something.
The one thing I will say about this, and we never kind of captured it on film for this show, because this was our first show in this venue, but we had about 150 people there. Mm-hmm. So it was it's a small room, so it was like a packed house, but there's people on this side of the camera and this side of the camera, and we just didn't capture it well. It looks like you're staring at an empty building right now.
Yeah, 2008, I mean, the quality and the amount of cameras that we had, you had weren't,
Yeah.
It was current for the time, so. And then the operator was the operator.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 cameras filming this
right now, yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure there's one I don't know about, like an upskirt one under the table.
I told you to wear pants. It's your problem. And now a side headlock. And I always, when I watch it, I've done these watch-alongs before on this channel. I always slip into commentary mode by accident.
Yeah, like, here we go with a no top.
Yeah. This has really got the pressure on Tommy Thunder here.
Yeah, and like I said, he's such a good job of controlling the match and, just kind of dictating, like, all right, we're going to get up. And, he's talking to me right now. If he's not talking to me, Finnegan's kind of giving me cues. But it's where the inexperience shows here. And, it's I don't take it as, like, a personal whatever. It's the fact that I didn't have enough experience wrestling guys of this caliber at this point. So a lot of it was just kind of like, what the fuck do I do now, Steve? Like, please teach me how to wrestle. You know what I mean? And, yeah, like that. Okay.
Just a quick side note, that one of the things years later that's kind of a cool footnote is...
I like that one, I'm not going to lie, sorry. That was the first Enziguri. Apparently there's several here to where someone told us that. Oh, no, I don't think it was this match that he told me that.
Ricky Reyes?
No, Keener, Mike Keener.
Oh, with the...
So... I was wrestling. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Reyes, honestly. It was definitely a paid guy to be there. I don't know what you call them. Stars?
A name.
A name. There you go. So I was wrestling a name in the Knights.
Speaking of a name.
There's that guy.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
What?
Look, that guy from the Knights.
Yeah, his name was Casey.
Okay.
So Casey, he used to do indie shows as a wrestler.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
And then he got a pacemaker.
That I know he had a heart problem because you kept saying that.
He had a pacemaker, and he's like, "Oh, listen." Like, he was the one who helped me get the whole show approved and everything like that kind of thing. So he's like, "Yeah, I just want to be a small part." I think he was doing like the commissioner gimmick or something, or like the booker or something like that. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get in the ring and take a bump." I'm like, "No, you're not, bud. No, I'll be fine." I'm like, "You have a artificial heart." I was like, "You are not going in that ring to do anything." He's like, "No, I'll be fine." I'm like, "You have children, bud. Let's calm down." So,
one of the things I was going to point out was...
But, sorry, to go to the actual match for a second. So he already did the cheap shots in the knee, which is what set up the injury while I was away at Basic. So that was the whole angle there. He blew out my knee or whatever, and that's what put me into, injury on the...
Yeah, we didn't say you were going out to the Army. I think we did actually on...
You might have said it on the show, but it wasn't, like, in the storyline,
right,
I guess.
Okay. So, yeah, we were trying to tell a story of why he was going to be gone for 6 months. But one of the cool things to me was, a couple years later, at an ECWA show, of all places, it might have been TWA at that point, but Corino couldn't make the show, so he wanted somebody to take his place as his Mr. Wrestling 3 character. And that was you. Mm-hmm. So you would end up portraying Steve Corino somewhere else a couple years later.
I remember that.
That's kind of cool. Down in South Jersey at the ice skating rink.
The ice skating rink?
That's where it was.
Okay.
It's a big ice skating rink.
Was that the one attached to the bowling alley? There's one. No, that wasn't.
No, that was his show.
Okay.
It was the bowling alley. That's where you wrestled with Joe D.
Mm-hmm.
I yelled at one of the girl wrestlers.
The girl wrestlers?
Yeah. She was doing, there was one girl wrestler who was doing ring announcing for the show, and I was doing music as a favor, aka I wasn't getting paid, I was just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And she decided to get real nasty with me real quick about lowering the volume. So, of course, I cranked that bitch all the way up and stared right at her.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the match, Corino is just working on your knee here, telling that story and taking his time with it.
Yep.
But keeping the action going. So like there's a difference between taking your time and it being boring, and taking your time and telling a story. And I think that's really why he was so good.
Yeah.
And why he's employed by WWE right now.
To train people.
Yeah.
So I wish there was more about this, but there I am.
I have a lot of anecdotes, so you just let me know if you're out of stuff to say.
Floundering
I'll just go. So that's the other thing. So one thing that's important for any wrestlers who are out there, and most people know this, but when you first get in, it's one of those things that you don't pick up on because the sentence is a little confusing when you first hear it. So as a babyface, you can never die. And obviously, like, okay, well, that means I can't lose. That's not what it means. It means if you're getting hit, it's not that you're flat down. You can do that for a second, but once you kick out of that 3 count or that 2 count, it's got to be this, this I'm coming back, and you got to keep
back up.
You got to keep acknowledging the crowd to keep them with it, and that's just one of those things that comes with experience. Because as many times as you hear it, you never truly know where to plug those things in until you've had that live show crowd experience.
Especially when you have this was a hot crowd for the time, I think, and that's why we, decided to go the way we did with the finish for it, or the false finish. Sorry, spoiler. Was because the crowd was so hot, and then you kind of take it away last minute. I'm like, all right, well, we're going home now. But yeah, I hated selling injuries like this. It was just, like when you recognize like a bad actor. You know what I mean? And then you look at yourself, you're like, well, I could tell I was acting. Well, obviously, because you were the one doing it. But it's always difficult to kind of sell these injuries. But what the one thing I did do with especially with leg injuries, like, yeah, you could like kind of do that little like fake limp around, and then he throws you off the ropes, and you're hitting the ropes at 100 miles an hour. Yeah. It's like, well, what are you doing, bud?
I've had people on the shows who would just flat out refuse to run the ropes, so they'll collapse and act like their leg hurts because they can't justify running with a limp.
Yeah.
And why these ropes would all of a sudden, I mean, the logic of the ropes doesn't make sense to begin with.
Right.
Makes even less sense if you got one leg.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had people who just flat out refuse to do it and won't. The same thing with sometimes you get a big guy, you get a 400-pound guy, and somebody, just natural instinct, tries to Irish whip them off the ropes. The big guy's like, nope. And then just reverses it, so.
I think we, as we're going through it, I think you can see the style blend here between me and him, and it's not, arrogance or whatever, but, like, in the beginning, I was doing some of the stuff that I really enjoyed, like, you do the little flips here and there, or, like, he tried to whip me up from the bottom of the ropes or whatever, and I landed on my feet, and he goes to do a hip toss, I land on my feet, I do the kip up, like, those are, like, that's what I enjoyed about this, is the athleticism, or, like, the acrobatic type thing. And then this, where it's just, like, that old school, like, I'm getting pinned in the figure 4, you know what I mean? And he did the figure 4, but he wound it up, so he stopped, turned again, stopped, turned again to wrench it in, and it's pretty fun to see. I'm just becoming a fan of myself all over again.
Yeah,
I'm just really falling in love with myself. But no, the first time I watched this, I was like, oh god, what was I doing? It's a difficult transition if you've been that baby, you're a heel your whole career. That's what you're comfortable with. Then going to babyface, like, do some homework, watch some of the greats and see how they do it, and as long as you could apply that style, not that character, their style, to you, then you should be all right.
And for reference, who were the people that you tried to model your wrestling style after when you got into wrestling?
I always, like I said, I kind of hinted to it. I always like the acrobatics of it, or the athleticism of it. You know, jumping off the ropes and doing flips and stuff like that. Stuff that other people couldn't really do. Which, again, now that I'm older, it's like looking back, like a lot of people probably couldn't do, you know, like a body slam above their head. What's it called? Power slam. You know what I mean?
Body press.
Body press. There you go. A body press, or like a power bomb without someone jumping. But like, it's just what it kind of attracted me was the acrobatic part of it. Not doing it off the top ropes because I was still kind of a pussy. But yeah, just kind of testing myself out and see what I could do.
And like even here, when you're applying the pressure now, typically what the babyface would do in that situation is the head shake, like, yeah, I got it. Fucking thing, it hurts, but I got it, because that move legitimately does hurt.
Oh yeah, yeah, it does.
When it's reversed like that.
It's a good stretch right before basic training. Deep stretch of your tendons in your knee.
Oh, that's kind of a cool spot.
It was interesting. I don't remember that one.
But going back to, so your early start, we started doing a backyard wrestling show that led to us training to be professional wrestlers. Did that for a couple years. Tried to start our own promotion. It was unsuccessful. Was that another insecurity I just missed?
Yeah, it was, and he bumped backwards, which was interesting. Maybe because
he always
the angle.
did that. He always did that for that. I think it was because he had nowhere else to go. His natural fall would have just been into the ropes, and you couldn't get a false pin that close to the ropes.
Right.
But again, I've seen him do that before.
Incredible ring presence, just all around. I mean, it just comes with experience of doing it 100 times and knowing, like, he probably took the enziguri and went into the ropes and got all tangled up or whatever, and then, yeah, he just knew while I was kicking him, hopefully not really kicking him in the face, that, yeah.
Although you did before. You have.
No, I punched him.
Oh, you punched him real hard. And what was his remark for that?
Why? I forgot. We were in some. It was. I don't remember. It was an outdoor show. It was behind the gym.
Yeah.
We were behind the gym in the parking lot, and I can't remember if it was like a tournament or like a battle royal. But they come out one at a time or whatever. But it was just him and I right in the middle of the ring, and kicked him in the stomach. I grabbed him in the head. And I punched him right in the eye, and then he had a black eye, and it felt awful.
He had a black eye, too?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I gave him a shiner.
Wow.
So, and then we wrestled
He's
again.
been so nice to you.
He's
Why would you
really,
do that?
like, one of the nicest guys.
It's funny, one of the other matches we're going to watch in this series, you did the same thing to me.
What, punched you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of those punches
See, I got the check the oil spot right there.
That's not it, though.
No, I know.
Check the oil spot.
That was more of, like, cough and turn.
Do you know what that spot is? It's a really good spot.
Check the oil?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what it is.
Okay, yeah, it's a really good one. If anybody hasn't seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's a good spot for a heel.
You might have to be over 18 to look it up.
You were going for a sharpshooter. Then you, so right there, you were going for a sharpshooter. You changed your mind. We're going for a figure four, but I don't think you knew how to put on the figure four. And the reason is, you didn't grow up a wrestling fan.
No, I didn't get into it until like the Attitude Era, so like late 90s, probably like 98. I was like 7th, 8th grade at the time, probably when I really got into it. Third enziguri, so that way he fell forward and then immediately turned on his side. So I think that was again amazing ring presence there.
But yeah, so growing up, you didn't have that background that so many of us do.
Yeah, I didn't have brothers either. I only had sisters, so not like you could like practice the moves on people.
Yeah, you didn't have wrestling buddies growing up.
Yeah, I did not. My friend though, Ricky Surrett, him and I started. That's where we kind of started rolling around, I guess you could say, or practicing on each other. So that was the first finish. I was not supposed to win, according to the booker, who was Ryan, who wrote the show. And now he is scrambling. He doesn't know what the hell to do.
I'm in there thinking, well, we're getting this belt off of him. I'm going to reveal to everybody, I'm the owner.
Yeah.
This is not happening.
He is He is making decisions right now.
Yep.
And I think at one point, if you go back or whatever, you can actually see you as I'm getting out. I think you grabbed my wrist. You were like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, really?
And I think that's where I kind of.
You didn't tell me. Carino told me.
Right in there, because I'm pretty sure I thought I could have sworn you said, "What are you doing? Don't go anywhere." Something like that.
Yeah. But I'm finding out from Carino right now.
Oh, okay.
He's having a full-on conversation, and he's laughing right now.
Yep.
And that's part of the mastery of wrestling is that he's technically a ventriloquist at this point because we're having a full conversation. Nobody knows. Finnegan had just said to me, "We got you, didn't we?" And I was like, "You son of a bitch." Not funny.
Yep.
I'm like, "So now what are we doing?" I literally have no idea. I am not a ventriloquist, so I'm literally talking to Corino like this at points.
Yeah.
So they're restarting that. This is what's known as a Dusty finish. It was made possible, famous by Dusty Rhodes. He would typically do a title change and then the next night or that night reverse it so that the fans sometimes went home happy, but the next day they would read about, the title change didn't actually occur.
Yeah.
So they call it a Dusty finish, and there's the low blow.
Yep. Masterfully done, of course.
And that slows it right back down to where he wants it. So let that loud reaction die down a little bit so you could build to another finish.
Mm-hmm. It's just the lariat. I think that's what he called it.
Sliding sea lariat? That one?
I think so. But yeah, again, great.
Dead fish. There you go.
Capitalization.
Now you're selling it. And there's that guy with the fake heart riding around the outside.
Sprinting around. Overclocking that freaking computer in his heart. God.
But this is pretty cool because it's not... Even when Ric Flair would do the figure four, it really never got a huge reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Did I throw in the towel for you?
Yeah, you threw it in. No,
okay.
You threw it in. And it was one of those things like you and I have always been together, tag team or in same group or whatever, and then you kind of left me for Corino, and it was like, you still had the whatever left over, the sympathy. So.
And here comes this guy to steal your thunder, so to speak.
A lot of people did that.
But if you could look back and you could change one thing about the match, what are you changing?
Put me as the heel. No. I mean, same scenario and everything. I don't know. It was just, it just wasn't the style of match I was used to, and that, again, that's like that inexperience. You go in, you get your shit in, and then you go home. You pop all your moves, they pop all their moves, and then whoever wins. But this was just like that long, slow, like, I don't know. I don't know what I would change about it. I thought it was solid. Maybe just my entrance and the energy in the beginning, where it was like, you come in, you slide in, he gets out of the ring, and you're, kind of going over the top trying to fight him or whatever, and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I can't really complain about the match.
I would say just the never die part.
Yeah.
Keeping that in there. That's probably the big thing that was missing. But I don't know that this particular crowd noticed it.
Yeah.
So we were lucky in that aspect.
And if you're ever critical of someone playing an opposite character of you, try it, and then you probably won't be so critical, because it's a definite change in everything. I mean, for professionals, I think it's a change for your conditioning, your overall attitude. It's a lot. It could be, I used to stupidly say like bad guys always have dumb facial hair, or like something stupid that makes them look like douchey, like, or a stupid haircut, like just to let the crowd know like, oh, this guy's kind of a jerk. But it just, try to play that babyface or that super heel. People always have more fun with heels, I think, personally.
Everybody likes to be a heel.
Yeah, because it's easier to me. It's a lot easier to make a crowd of 150 people dislike you than it is for them to like you. So, but part of that is it's easy for them to dislike you, so you make the heel or the face's job a little bit easier.
Yep.
Because you're such a jerk. There we go.
Yep.
Popping it off with the worm. I forgot about this.
Still selling the leg. Still selling the leg.
Yeah,
don't
that's
worry.
what you got to do. One. Yep. I was thinking about going up to the second rope, and this is like the peak of my indie. This is a great camera angle, by the way. We're just like that half of my body is like the better half.
Dave couldn't make it that way.
The bibbles. Yeah.
I don't know if that was planned. This is back when I made everybody dress up for all the shows.
Yes,
so you see
I
everybody's
remember
wearing
that. Look,
suits.
Ozzy almost fell down. This is white pants.
Oh, man. Yeah, the guys used to have to show up to the... Jay would show up, for whatever reason, looking like Steve Irwin all the time.
Yeah.
Khaki
Just
shirt, khaki pants.
Like he was going on safari afterwards. That was also when he... Which is ironic, because that's when he had more options for clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now he only has 3 T-shirts, so...
Yeah. You know, they're hard to find.
But this was a fun show. It was in front of a hometown crowd. I mean, not everybody gets that experience, so this is something cool to look back on and reflect on. Even though you can always go back and you can always nitpick little things here and there. The important thing is, you know, you have fun when you're out there doing the shows, because your wrestling career does not last forever.
Yeah, no.
You only have a finite number of years to be in the ring. So
sorry, I had some more stories. So 2 things about this show real quick, and this could probably be a whole separate, like, your bonus feature or whatever. But so in build-up of this show, Corino was really excited about it, and then he was more excited. 1, that it was paid, and then 2, that the Knights of Columbus had a softball field. Do you remember this?
yes, well, you told me about it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't remember the game.
So Steve Corino suggested that we do a softball game to hype up the show, where it would be the wrestlers against the Knights of Columbus guys. If you're not familiar with the Knights of Columbus, it's pretty much the same one that you've had in your hometown. It's just, older guys hanging out at the bar, whatever. What we didn't know is that they are killer at softball. And even though you think, like, oh, wrestlers, they're pretty athletic.
Not our wrestlers.
Not the case for a majority of our wrestlers. So we agree to do the wrestler versus. Do you want me to pause it here?
Yeah, it's fine.
Wrestlers versus the Knights of Columbus softball game. So we show up. There's 4 wrestlers that show up. Me, Joe D, Fluff, and one other guy.
Did Corino not show
No,
up?
Corino did not show up. So he sends this whole thing up, and he's like, yeah, I can't make it. So now it's 4 wrestlers against
That's
the whole
awesome.
like Knights of Columbus beer league, softball league.
Yeah.
And they're like, they have their uniforms on and everything, and like, some of these dudes showed up in like their sequins vests or whatever the hell they wear. So they go, all right, well, you need a few more to field the team, so we'll give you this guy. His name was Matt, and I won't say his last name, but he grew up in our neighborhood.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
So bigger, heavy-set guy. But every time I used to walk to your house, go past Slug's house, I would see him outside playing baseball.
Oh, okay.
By himself.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay. I was
Not
like,
easy to do.
you put 2 and 2 together. They're like, okay, I've seen him play. He practices, so okay. Probably pretty good.
There we go.
And he was terrible. So the only 2 people who had experience playing sports were me and Joe D, or GPS. So no matter where one of us were, the Knights guys were good enough to put the ball where either Fluff was or where Matt was.
Okay.
So it was literally just like 7 innings of a complete blowout, like to the point where they hit 10 runs and they're like, all right, we're just gonna
Did you guys throw the mercy rule?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
They're like 10 runs an inning without home runs was their rule, and they hit it for like 4 innings. And we're like, you know what? We're done here. So it was just a complete beating. Second part of the story is it was a paid show. They gave us $1,000 to run the show, and that allowed us to book whoever and get the ring and all that stuff. And we made $800 on the show. So I had to go to like the meeting the next week, and they're like, all right, let's go over revenue and projects. They're like, and they told me that part. Like, I think we had donations and everything too, and it was just, out of $1,000 we gave them back $800. So not the smartest investment.
They didn't promote. That wasn't our deal.
They did. They had a softball game, which
which had less people playing.
Yeah. Thankfully, no one was watching.
Thanks to everybody for checking out this video. If you liked it, please beat the shit out of the like button.
And subscribe.